Hello again, everybody. It's time for Mission 9.
Rampage.
Remember back in the Norse campaign when Skull's description indicated that Atlantis was disappointed not to have met somebody more formidable as a Norse ally? Well, now we've got one. The frost giant Folstag is so powerful that this mission is quite trivial. To make it more challenging, I'll be winning with no casualties. I've always enjoyed this game's sense of humor, so this cinematic is pretty fun, silly though it may be.
I wish we could have brought that Guardian with us.
At least they acknowledged it.
Guardian. This Titan looks much weaker.
This is not a Titan.
That's right. The Titan is over there.
Even weirder than us not noticing that is Caster apparently not having noticed any frost giants on Mission 4.
I am King Folstag.
King Folstag, are you fighting the Titan?
Yes, I just had to get some of my men. I think they'll be able to slow him down a little.
I think we should work together.
After 2 campaigns of being an unseen enemy, Folstag is now our ally, and a powerful ally he is. Well, I'm going to leave all non-hero units behind. The Titan has infinite uses of the traitor god power, so he can steal any non-hero unit you bring at him. Since I'm going for no casualties here, I can't have that. Folstag counts as a hero for this purpose, by the way. He regenerates and revives like one too. I'll throw down a longhouse over here to get some Herseer later. So my goal now is to take out all the Titan's human soldiers before he destroys this town. If I do that, he can't build a town of his own and therefore can't get any reinforcements, making it much easier to deal with him. I think you've seen on these last 2 levels that a Titan on its own is really not very much of a threat to anybody. He needs an army backing him up and dealing with heroes, so they don't swarm him. Folstag can lock down the Titan with his frost breath, allowing everybody else to kill off the human soldiers with impunity. Well, sort of. I mean, the human soldiers are formidable warriors themselves and outnumber me pretty badly. I could lose people here if I'm not careful. I also need to make sure I don't waste time attacking the Titan when I need to be killing off the people who are destroying the buildings. When you see Folstag's special ability recharge at about 40%, that means the Titan is about to be free again. So it's time to back off. Let's look at Folstag for a moment here. So his description here, of course, is a reference to the previous campaign.
Folstag ate my cattle and hurled my cabin into the river.
I always thought that was pretty funny, at least. You might remember that Folstag also kind of showed up in the first mission of the Golden Gift. We didn't see him in person, but his breath could freeze your whole army in one area, and his giants are on the loose punting dwarves. Well, I'm going to try to distract the human soldiers and keep as many of them as possible running around near the hill forts getting shot. The hill forts do a great job supporting us. If you skip the cinematic, I don't think they're intact like they are if you watch it. Doesn't make a huge difference, of course. And balancing it out, I think the enemy gets fewer soldiers if you skip the cinematic too. I was hoping to save that southern hill fort, but I think unfortunately the Titan managed to destroy it. Yeah, he got it. Well, that's alright. It'll cost me a few seconds. I'll get a lot more damage from producing a few Herseer than I would from those arrows. And the surviving hill fort will be a decent help, at least. There weren't many spots that could keep the Titan where both hill forts could shoot him anyway. They don't have burning oil to make them useful point blank or anything. Well, I'll get a rudimentary economy going. A little bit of food, a little bit of gold. He's about to unfreeze. You can kind of see him vibrating a bit before he unfreezes. If both hill forts get destroyed, by the way, you can lure him over to the next town to let its town center shoot at him for a bit more damage. I don't think it's really worth the trouble, though. The amount of damage added is pretty small. Every little bit counts, so I will try to lure him in range of the hill fort again while I wait for the breath weapon to recharge.
It seems Folstag can freeze the Titan. We must not lose him.
Thank you, Caster. I think we'd figured that part out already. You really can't lose Folstag anyway. He'll revive like a hero. Once again, they made things easier than they needed to. It is a cool, fun thing that you get all these frost giant reinforcements for every town that you've saved. But they can't freeze him, and he can use Traitor on them, so for my strategy where I'm trying to take no casualties, they're not useful at all. But, I will say that it is a fun mission to do conventionally too, where you get these frost giant reinforcements coming in, you eventually get to use Nidhogg. I'm gonna back out, I think he's about to unfreeze, yep. You can see, I think, that Folstag regenerates very quickly, which again makes it quite easy to keep him alive. Great armor and good stats in general too, of course. And I'm sure you've noticed the timer on the right side of the screen indicating that I'll summon Nidhogg in 20 minutes or so. As I've mentioned, Titans can't attack flying units, so Nidhogg can just slowly chip them down. It's a fun, cool level, but not a challenging one. Thankfully, they didn't make the mission requirement say to use Nidhogg like they did on the previous mission with the Guardian, so I don't have to wait for 20 minutes to get it. I wasted a little bit of frozen time there because my guys were not close enough to join in. Normally I would spend some of my surplus wood on throwing axemen, but as I mentioned, any non-hero unit I bring near the Titan can get traitorred. Oops, got a little sloppy there. Herrick Battlebone. Greymane or Battlebone. As you can see, this Titan kind of looks like a giant frost giant or troll or something like that. People say that it's meant to be Ymir. I'm not aware of any specific evidence for or against that. It's reasonable. Ymir was a primordial frost giant in Norse mythology. I'm luring this Titan, Ymir or not, into range of that hill fort so I can shoot at him and add some damage. Anyway, as I recall the myth, which was a somewhat vague and confused one, in the beginning there was just the realm of cold, Niflheim, and the realm of fire, Muspelheim, and sparks and snow from the two of them joined this place called Gnunga Gap, this abyss between them. And the interplay of the fire and ice created the first rivers, and then Ymir was spontaneously born from one of those, along with a cow on whose milk he lived, I guess. Then later, that cow inexplicably found some guy frozen in a block of ice, and it licked him free, and he became the progenitor of all the gods. He's almost dead. As you can see, he takes about double damage from hack compared to pierce, because his hack armor is only 90% compared to 95%. So Herseer are in that way more effective than priests against titans. Although of course, they can get chewed up if you don't have a frost giant freezing him. As you can see, whenever Folstag says that, we get a frost giant from every allied village that survived. Well, that stomped the damage out to an absurd distance. Maybe the second stamp always does damage if the first one did, regardless of how far you've walked away in the meantime. Not sure. Well, back to the story of Ymir. He was the progenitor of the Frost Giants, and then, for no particular reason, three gods, Odin and his two useless brothers, Vili and Ve, randomly murdered him. Ymir isn't portrayed as monstrous or even looking like something other than a big human, so I don't know why. Let's use flaming weapons to speed this up. Can't let Folstag get killed. You know, he doesn't look properly frozen this time, does he? Can't see the ice around him. Unfortunately, my units are being slow getting into position around him, so he might survive this, we'll see. Anyway, so Odin and his brothers killed Ymir for some reason, and then they made his body into the world, or worlds. It's kind of confusing. His eyebrows apparently became Midgard, the world of men, but also his flesh became the earth and his bones the mountains, and his blood the sea. But I mean, Midgard has seas and mountains and earth, so I'm not quite sure I get that. Nor does that explain where the other worlds come from. And his skull became the sky, which I guess they perceived as a dome over the world, or worlds again. Again, it's confusing. And weirdest of all, his brain became clouds. Like a lot of Norse mythology. I think we might be missing some key context and explanations that would make some parts of this make a little bit more sense, but it also is just kind of a weird story. I wonder what that first god was doing frozen in a block of ice anyway. The Norse seem to consider knowing that story to be the epitome of being a learned man. Because several myths involve some person being asked about that in a riddle game, and showing that they're wise by knowing it. One other way to win this mission, by the way, would be to set up kind of to the southwest of where the Titan initially starts off, and then when he finishes off that town, his reinforcements and villagers spawn in there and you can wreck them while he's away. Well, that's a win. Much easier than Kerberos. Weirdly, I think the early missions of the campaign are harder than the later ones. The opposite of what one would expect. Sadly, we can't bring Folstag with us. I'd rather have him than the Guardian, really. Well, have a great day, everyone.